Good morning, St. Francis. Good morning, people of God. It is Monday, the 13th day of October, 2025. It is Monday of the 28th week of the year, the 28th week in Ordinary Time. And depending on where you live and what things you embrace, this is either Indigenous Peoples Day, it could be Columbus Day, but in many ways, maybe, I don't know, more importantly, in one way, it is Thanksgiving Day in Canada. So maybe look at that. Thanksgiving Day in Canada. If anybody from Canada is listening to this, if anyone from Canada picks this up, happy Thanksgiving. Happy Thanksgiving. So variety of things. Again, as we move through history, to name, to rename, to decide, again, what is important and what is not. It's an ongoing thing that we must deal with, must wrestle with all of our lives as human beings, perhaps. So, in any way, on this Monday of the 28th week of the year, the 28th week in Ordinary Time, we have left now the Old Testament once again. All of the warnings of retribution, destruction, of making sure that your lives are better, that the Israelites' lives are better because God has done great things and God is not seeing an appreciation for these great things, and so there's going to be, some kind of trouble if things are not corrected and stuff like that. We now go to the letter to the Romans. So we're now back into the New Testament, and the first of the letters in the list of the letters that follow the Gospels, follow Acts of the Apostles. Is it the first of the letters that Paul writes? No, that is probably Thessalonians, but it is a letter that is written in the mid-50s of the Common Era, mid-50s AD, probably from Greece, probably from Corinth or something like that. Paul had always wanted to go to Rome eventually to be able to preach there, because he accomplishes most of his preaching in the eastern part of the Mediterranean, and now he wishes to move to the western part of the empire. But he is going to Jerusalem from Greece when he's writing this letter, and when he knows that he's going to go to Jerusalem again to help out the community there. But he also knows that there's going to be trouble because the Jerusalem authorities do not like him, and again in what he's doing, of course. So what happens eventually is that he is arrested, as we hear in Acts of the Apostles during the Easter season. He is arrested and he is taken to Rome, but he's taken to Rome in chains, and thereby will experience martyrdom and things like that, although that's not recorded in Acts of the Apostles. So Paul, wanting the Romans to know again who this Christ is, and so this is just the beginning of the letter, where he announces what his proclamation is going to be about a Christ who has risen, who is again understanding of his relationship, or Christ's relationship to God. Is Christ God yet? Moving closer and closer to that. So the sense in which bringing this good message of good news to the center of the world at the time that Paul lived, again to the Roman Empire itself. And so the thing about it is that the letter itself is written to the Roman people. It is not written to an individual, which then gives rise. Well, isn't there a pope there? Isn't there somebody in charge? Don't we have a list of popes? And then shouldn't it be shouldn't somebody be there? But yet there is no pope yet. And so that's the thing. Again, is Peter there being pope? No, not really. And so he's in Jerusalem. So yeah. So there's always a kind of a question of what's actually going on and what's happening. Has Peter been martyred already? It doesn't say. We don't know that. And so is Linus, there? It's all very complicated. But it gives rise also to an understanding, perhaps, that in the church in Rome, it was more complicated than in other cities, because as a cosmopolitan area, the message would have gone to different types of ethnic quarters that lived in the city of Rome, and so there probably were a bunch of leaders within the city of Rome where they tied together in some ways, perhaps, but it would have been something that had much more, again, complexity, many different levels to it than just one man leading everybody, or one leader itself leading everybody. An interesting thing to consider. This letter, again, like I said, it's just a greeting, it's just an introduction today. It gets very complicated. It spins out Paul's theology of Jesus, which can be a bit lofty at times, but we'll see what happens as we go through it. And anyway, Luke's Gospel today again talks about, so Luke's Gospel again talks about Jonah, which we heard a couple of days ago as in the Old Testament, and he calls the generation evil because, again, they're giving a hard time. They don't want to listen to what it is that he has to say, and he's just getting tired of it. And it's wonderful to show that Jesus is getting frustrated with the idiocy of these people who don't want to listen to good news. They want things as they are in a sad status quo that leaves everybody miserable. And so again, And that sign of Jonah is basically to wake up, to realize, that there is more. And although Jonah did not like the fact that God had mercy on Nineveh when it did wake up, God still wants to have mercy. But God still wants to be a God of goodness and love to people. God does not want to be a God, of terrible things and destruction and sadness. And so, again, wake up. Stop resisting. Stop being evil in that way, and see this good news. Or else those who heard it before you, will come to judge you. Again, the Queen of the South, the people of Nineveh, will come to judge you and say, we were not Jews, yet we heard this. What is your problem? Why can't you do that? Same thing can be said for us today. Again, to listen to this good news, even if it comes from ways that we did not expect or from people we don't think should be delivering it. This good news is still good news, and we need to listen to it and embrace it so that it may transform our lives. A blessed day, St. Francis and people of God. May the Lord give you his peace.